Today we are starting Unit 6 and starting with Lesson 6.1, Multiplying Fractions and Mixed Numbers. We have two goals today. We are supposed to be able to multiply fractions and mixed numbers. Also, we can find reciprocals. So that word reciprocals, that's something that you've heard before. However, it might be something we need a little refresher on as we look at that today. On page 205, the first page of your new math journal, we are going to go ahead and zoom in, take a peek up here at our math message. Applying properties of multiplication. Write a general pattern in words for the group of three special cases. So we remember that a special case is something where we have numbers. It's a real example. You can see we have three of them here. And if we look for the similarities in these, we can see that all of them take a number and multiply it by 1. So all of them are multiplying as well. And all of them, the number that they started with is the number that they end with. So now we need to write a general pattern. In our general pattern, we're going to use a variable. Let's just say today n. And we could pick any variable for that just to represent our number. For any number n, so there's our variable, n times 1, because they all were multiplying by 1, equals itself, or n. So that's our general pattern for this one. We worked on this a few units ago even, so if this seems a little foggy to you, that's okay. Follow along, we'll pick back up on it. Looking at number 2, we also need to write a general pattern in words for this group of special cases. Now this time, we have some fractions here, and I'm just going to use my highlighter again. As you can see, the numerator, same as the denominator. Numerator, same as the denominator. Numerator is the same as the denominator. All of them end up with an answer of 1. So let's go ahead and just use our variable n again. So for any number n over n equals 1. So our general pattern, if we're looking more carefully for these two, would be this specifically. I just drew a box around number 1. Just drew a box around this one. Those would be our general patterns. This is important today because we need to look at these relationships as we're working. So let's look at number 3. Multiply and write your answers in simplest form. Now looking at this, especially if we were not looking at what we already know about our rules of multiplication and our special cases, we might say, oh, we have a fraction here to multiply. Okay, I need to do 4 over 1, multiply across. It's really much simpler than that. If we go back to what we found up here, we know that 19 over 19 is actually equal to 1. And 4 times 1 equals 4, which is much simpler than doing that. Now also, if we're looking at B here, I'll use my purple pen this time. Looking at B, I might say, oh, I can multiply these across and I can simplify, do that. But again, we can do that a little more quickly, noticing that 6 over 6 is actually equal to 1. 2/3 times 1 is going to be 2/3. You are going to do C on your own. Looking down here, you're going to be doing the same thing, multiplying and then writing in simplest form. When you and your partner have finished solving the problems, compare your answers. We aren't working with a partner, so you are just going to solve them and write in simplest form. Now for this, we aren't going to see some of these patterns, but you will see some other things. You'll pick up on some other things. Remember, to multiply fractions, you just multiply straight across the numerator, straight across the denominator, and then simplify. Number 18, I want you to also try that on your own, so you're finishing all of these as well. But number 18, you're supposed to write 3 special cases for this general pattern. So I'm going to help you out and do one of them. I'm going to pick any random number, so let's say 49. 49 is going to be my x. So 49 times 1 over, there's another x, 49 equals 1. You go ahead and write your other special cases here. Okay, I'm reading off of page 206. I'm not actually going to have a copy of the page here. And we're talking about reciprocals now. So if we look at the top, it's telling us all about the reciprocal property. I'm just going to write the word reciprocals. It says if A and B are any number except 0, then A over B times B over A will always equal 1. The only time it won't be would be if any of those, if A or B equaled 0, then it would not work. So A over B and B over A are reciprocals of each other. It's like I flipped them. So we're going to go ahead and start just looking at some of these. So for number 1 here on this page, they're asking you to write the reciprocal of 6. I'll draw a circle around that so we know that's our problem. So the reciprocal of 6, if I were to write that as a fraction, it'd be 6 over 1. So my reciprocal is going to be 1/6. That's number 1 on page 206. Number 2, I have 17. And I need to write a reciprocal for 17. Again, 17 written as a fraction would be 17 over 1 if that helps you picture it, visualize it. So its reciprocal would be 1/17. These are pretty simple. You need to continue doing this, but we're going to hop down to, let's look at number 7. Number 7 just gets a little bit trickier. So looking at number 7 on this page, we have 8½ I can't just flip my half and say, oh, I got it. I need to make sure that I'm doing a reciprocal of this entire number. So I'm going to go ahead and make 8½ into an improper fraction. So I'm going to take 2 times 8, which is 16, plus 1 is 17, so 17 over 2. And then to make my reciprocal, I need to flip it. So my reciprocal would be 2/17. That's number 7 on their page. Looking at your decimals, we also have some decimals on this page. If we look at, let's say, number 13, they're giving us a decimal to write a reciprocal for, 75/100ths. Now, we talked about how to change a fraction or a decimal into a fraction, so we need to know how to do this. This is a common decimal, common fraction, which is equivalent to 3/4. So my reciprocal would be 4/3. And that is what you are going to need to do on this page, completing this page. For your assignment today, you have pages 205, which we began, most of that actually, 206, which we started with our reciprocals, and then your math box is page 207. And on IXL, you have several things you can practice, I3, K1, and K2.